What's going on, guys? Graham, Jesus, and Matthews here with Bleacher Report. And today we're talking to the brand new WWE Champion, the two-time WWE Champion, coming out of the Royal Rumble last week. And every Monday on Raw, you can see him on the USA Network. We got the almighty himself, Bobby Lashley. Bobby, what's going on, my man?
Oh, not too much. Living the dream.
Living the dream, of course. Like I said, two-time WWE Champion. First question for you. How does this one feel a little bit different than the first? I think we just passed the 11-month anniversary, so to speak, the 11-month mark of when you won the first WWE title. That reign lasted quite a while, obviously. What's your reaction of getting the championship back compared to the first time?
You know what? The first time when you win it, it's always that shock of winning it for the first time. It's breaking that barrier, getting to that next level. So this time, of course, was a little bit different. However, the person I had to beat in order to get it made it that much more special. I mean, those were two big goals that I had coming back in. Definitely to win WWE Championship. And then the second one was to have that match with Brock that everybody's been wanting for years. So it's huge. This year has just been a great year for me, you know, winning the title. And then this one has its own element of it just makes me feel good, you know. Winning that WWE Championship just kind of like puts another check mark in your career and pushes you a little bit towards that Hall of Fame status. And I believe some of the things that I've done over the last few years have definitely etched my name in that candidate as a Hall of Famer when I do retire. So everything has just been great, and winning this title the second time is just as sweet as the first time because of the way that I won it and who I beat.
Yeah, and at the Rumble itself, one of the biggest pay-per-views of the year. And it's crazy. You've been back now with WWE for 4 years. You mentioned it right there. Now two-time WWE champion, two-time Intercontinental champion, two-time U.S. champion. That's only counting the championships you've had since you've been back in WWE, which is quite crazy, including defending the championship at WrestleMania, which is another possibility. Obviously, if you can get past the Elimination Chamber, which you intend to, and we'll get to that momentarily. But back to the Brock match at the Rumble. Did the match go the way you expected? Obviously, you got the win as you wanted, as we all wanted to see, and you became a two-time WWE champion. Your thoughts on the match itself and how it played out?
I think one thing is that, you know, with fighting and in professional wrestling, I think the biggest thing that people, first of all, people always ask, what are you going to do to somebody? You know, if I can do whatever, I do my whole moveset on somebody. But I think the biggest, the biggest key is, can you take what they can give you? And that was the biggest thing. When you have a match with somebody like Brock, I knew that, you know, you're probably going to end up in Suplex City. You're probably going to get the F5, and you're probably going to feel his power and his strength. And I felt all of that. And I kept going, and I put that hurt lock in. And if you watch the match back, he was going down. And that's the one thing that I wanted to see. I wanted to see, one, if I can take everything that he threw at me. And then I wanted to see what if he can break that lock, and he couldn't. So there was a lot of things in that match that I was like, okay, you know what? I know that there's going to be more, because if he were to beat me, I would be knocking on his door tomorrow. I'd be doing everything I can to get a rematch. And I knew if I beat him, then he was going to be right back out. Look, he came out Raw the next day with all his gear on, ready to fight. It's like, bro, I got a suit on. You got to stand in the back of the line. It's not that I didn't know that we were going to fight again, but we just had the match. And I understand you're pissed off and furious and everything, but you need to take your time and work your way back up here. So, yes, it was good to kind of get that first match in, but I think that there's so many more matches to go with he and I. I think there's still some bad blood that needs to be fought over.
If and when we get that second match from you guys, would you want to go the standard singles route like we got at the Rumble, or would you want to go one step further and do it in something like a fight pit that we saw in NXT a few years ago, or the Lion's Den, as it was once called, from Ken Shamrock many years ago? Does that sort of stuff interest you in the WWE world with Brock?
It all interests me. It all interests me. The only thing that doesn't interest me is like a street fight.
Yeah.
I mean, because I think what I do with these things are going to be more brutal than what I can do with a kendo stick or with a table or with a chair. So I don't think we even need that in a match with he and I think he feels the same way. I think he'd rather suplex me than swing a stick at me. So, but all those other matches are very interesting, man, because a lot of the MMA community jumped on board, and they were all like, "Oh God, Bobby and Brock, they're finally going to do this." Like, I think a lot of people didn't care where we fought. I don't care if I think some people were like, man, if they thumb wrestle, we want to come see it, just as long as they take the shirt off the flex. So I think so many people want to see it that, you know, that fight pit would be cool. Put on some MMA gloves, get in a cage. I think any one of those things interests me.
Yeah, and they're all possibilities. It's stuff that we've seen in recent years in WWE. So hopefully at some point we get to see that from you guys in the WWE world. And again, it was less than 24 hours removed from the Royal Rumble that you won or not 24 hours. You know, the Rumble's on Saturday now. We have Mondays on Raw. I got to say 48 hours. That's what it is now. That Brock wasted no time in choosing his opponent for WrestleMania. I mean, obviously he's going to be in the chamber with you for the WWE Championship. It's Brock and Roman at Mania. It's been a crazy year for the WWE Championship. Like I said, you were champion for 6 months, like a very good stretch of time throughout 2021. Left your grasp for a little while. It was with Big E, then back to Brock Lesnar, now along your waist again. Your thoughts on maybe if the championship feels, I don't want to say secondary. I feel like that's a demotion or something like that. If it feels like it's second fiddle to the Universal Championship and what you can do in your power. I mean, obviously there's stuff that you can't control, but what you feel you can do to make that championship, maybe not the title, but on the same level as the Universal Championship. So it's kind of even playing field going into WrestleMania in your mind.
I think it is. I mean, what company do we work for? WWE. And I have the WWE Championship. So to me, I don't see anything bigger than that. And I understand him wanting to go against Roman. I'm not taking anything against Roman because I think Roman is at the top of his game. I think he's really just like transcended anything that he can do. And I give credit where credit's due. I'm not one of those guys to try to bash anybody in this business. And I think Roman's just put himself on a whole different level. But him and Brock had feuds. They had stuff going on before. If Roman didn't catch COVID, then me and Brock would probably be headlining WrestleMania of next year, because him and Roman were deep in their I guess their custody battle. I guess that's what it is. If you
yeah, exactly.
is who's better? Who's going to win Paul at the end of the day? I think that's what really matters more than any one of the titles. That's what it seems like. But with that being said, the thing that what people got to understand is I pinned both of those guys, Brock and Roman. So that's something you can't take away from me. So yeah, regardless of what happens with those guys, I think that's a big matchup just because of what's behind it and everything that they're doing. So I think that let them do what they're going to do. And then me and Brock can settle our differences when it's time. But right now, the champion is a champion in this business. There's a champion on Raw and there's a champion on SmackDown. I'm the champion on Raw. Roman's a champion on SmackDown. Let him go and finish their little feud and then come talk to me.
And before Roman even gets his hands on Brock, like I said, you're going to get your hands on him again inside the Elimination Chamber, assuming everyone's in there at the same time. 5 or 6 of Raw's top challengers, or 5 of Raw's top challengers, including yourself, inside that Elimination Chamber. We had AJ Styles qualify this past week. Rollins was named as a participant. Like I said, Brock, Austin Theory, and I think the last name was Matt Riddle as well, obviously. Some people you have history with, some people that you really haven't had a lot of interaction with, people like Theory, AJ Styles, for all the years that you guys have been in the same company, different companies. It's crazy. I don't think we've ever have we ever seen Bobby Lashley versus AJ Styles one-on-one?
Little snippets. But you know what? I like that what you said, because that's one thing that I'm excited about. I mean, yes, Brock's in there, but man, the roster is amazing. Coming back, looking at these two rosters, looking at the possibilities of people that I can be able to get in the ring with, that excites me. And as a champion, you know, I think Riddle's he's elevated himself up since our last feud. He's got a little bit of knowledge from Randy, which is probably one of the greatest ever in this wrestling business. And Randy's kind of mentored him to another level. Austin Theory is kind of like a little breakout star that we don't know what he's able to do at this point. We just know that there's big things coming. I mean, to have him in a match like this, you can already see the kid looks like $1 million. He has a skill set that's pretty incredible, and he's just young. He's young. So I'm going to take Floyd Mayweather's game plan here with him and beat him up real early before he becomes like a superstar. But then at the same token, you know, like you said, AJ Styles is another one of those guys that when you say phenomenal, you know, that's part of his name, but he really is phenomenal. The guy incredible. And then Seth Rollins. I mean, I don't think we have enough time to talk about how good Seth is. So that's the thing that excites me the most about being on Raw and being a champion, is that when I look back behind me, it's not one of those things that I'm nervous about, but it's those things that I'm excited about, that I have an opportunity to be able to get in the ring with some of the best wrestlers in this entire world. You can't compare these guys to anybody else from any other organization, because they are that good. So I'm excited about the chamber. I've always been that way, man. Whether it's fighting, wrestling, anything like that, I was like, give me the best. Let me test myself, because sooner or later, all this is going to be over for me. Sooner or later, I'm going to retire my boots. I don't know, maybe 10, 15, 20, 30 years later, I'm going to retire my boots. And when I do, I want to look back and say, man, you know what? I had the opportunity to get in the ring with the absolute best that this business can offer.
Yeah, and we got the best in this matchup in the Elimination Chamber. And the cool thing is, not only you're the champion walking in, I think, unless I'm mistaken, I'm forgetting something here, I think you're the only man in that chamber that has ever actually won an Elimination Chamber before. I mean, it's been 15 years, but I think you're the only one with an Elimination Chamber win, to your credit, which is pretty cool. Talking about all the people that you faced and have beaten, like you said, probably one of the few people to have ever pinned Brock as well as pinned Roman Reigns, especially in the last couple of years. I was thinking about people were talking about potential WWE Championship matches at WrestleMania involving Bobby Lashley. One name that I've seen batted around, I think that would be very interesting. Want to get your thoughts on it? Someone like a John Cena, obviously someone you have history with. That match 15 years ago, one of your final matches, definitely your last major match in WWE prior to your absence. With that, obviously that's a match that would interest you, right? That's got to be a match that I think we got to see at some point in WWE.
Oh yeah, man. Like, you got to throw that name in there. Cena's always one of those guys that when it comes to WrestleMania time, he's out in his gym and doing those 800-pound squats, getting ready for it. I know he is. Yeah. Of course, he's doing a lot of stuff with the movies and everything like that, but he's training and getting ready and kind of looking over the roster and saying, who can I go over there and do something with? And I hope my name's on his list, because, of course, I would like him also. But at the same token, like, I never want to take away from the current roster, the people that are out there banging every week and doing live events and everything like that. And there's so many guys out there. We got that giant. We have a giant out there. We have Randy that's trying to figure out what's going on with him and Riddle. You have some of the other tag team guys. Some of the tag teams that they split up, those guys can do a major run. Street Profits, if those two split up and try to do a singles run, both of them, I think both of them would have a lot of success doing it. But being a tag team, they're great. One thing I haven't won in WWE yet is the tag team title. So me and P might have to. I mean, P's been rehabbing. I just saw him posting something again today on Instagram, doing some work, and I know he's getting ready. And every time when he sees me, he's like, "Bro, I'm almost there. I'm almost there." He's putting on some good weight. He's training. He just started some different diets and everything like that. As far as like intermittent fasting, just to kind of like harden up and get in that fight shape. So me and Pete might do a little run at some tag team titles also. There's so many different possibilities right now that I'm excited that anything could possibly happen.
And it's cool. Again, like I said earlier, you've accomplished so much, but like you said, there's still so much more to do. I mean, you got to get your hands on the Universal Championship at some point. You haven't been on SmackDown in the last 4 years since you've been back in the company. So that's another thing at some point, which is crazy. But as we wind down here, Bobby, I am just obsessed with entrance music. So I got to know, your current music is such a banger. People love it. Got to get the inspiration behind it. I know you talked in the Stone Cold podcast, which was such a blast to watch. My girlfriend and I loved it. She was super excited when I told her I was talking today. She wanted to know if there's like a military tie-in to your current theme, because I know your dad was in the military, right? So I wanted to see if there was a tie-in there with your current music, and if there was ever the idea of getting your old music back from your original WWE run that I know a lot of people liked as well.
That's a loaded question. There's a bunch. Whenever we get music made, it's kind of one of those things where they start putting stuff together and having us listen to it. And I did kind of feel a little bit of that. That dum. I feel that energy, and that's what we want ultimately when we come out, is feel some energy with it. And when they showed me, when they first gave me the first verse of that, I kind of felt a little bit where we were going, because it does that beginning of it. It's kind of like that military cadence a little bit. I love it. My dad was in the Army for 26 years. I was in the Army. My sister was in the Army. My other sister was in the Air Force. My uncles and then Marines, and we just keep going on and on. So So having that little military twist was fun. A lot of people have asked me about that original music that I had before, and I still like it. So you never know. It's kind of one of those things where for the right matchups, you can pull anything out. I mean, they're still going to know it's me. There's a different generation, so they might say, well, whose music is that? But there's still that tie-in. So I think if there was a certain matchup that came along, I think we could pull it out and kind of play with it. But never know. I don't think that there's any plans for me changing it at this point. But if they were, I'm cool with it.
Yeah, the OGs would recognize that old music if it were to come
Absolutely.
back. And I think if fans complain enough online that they want to hear it, like enough with Drew, because people want Drew's old music back, it might happen at some point. So we'll see. The internet is a crazy thing. But on that note, Bobby, we can get you every Monday night on USA Network on Monday Night Raw, the new WWE champion. Bobby, always a blast talking to you. Thanks so much for the time, man. I appreciate it. There's the championship right there.
Anytime, man. Right on.
Thanks, Bobby. Have a great day.